Well, when I see the name Doom of Dimension, I was definitely expecting more DDD support. And with the name Doom, definitely expecting a little bit more Doom King, but I was not expecting them to reveal it this early. And actually a little more cards than expected, so expect some spacing issues for DDDs. But oh boy, I'm excited, so let's begin. And once again, artwork with the official effect but no card sample. So we start off with DD Land Soldier, which is a level 2 Dark Fiend tuner with 400 attack and defense, and each effect is hard once per turn. You can target one DD monster you control, increases level up to the number of dark contracts you control and in your graveyard. Being a level 2 Fiend tuner, it's quite helpful to manipulate levels just for your Exceed or Synchro plays. It's just personal preference on you. But the second effect is that if this card's in graveyard, you can target one dark contract you control, destroy it, and if you do, special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field, which is just going to trigger some more effects, and it's nice that it just basically does more stuff and basically just extends more plays. Not much to say here, but I was definitely not expecting more manga stuff here as well. And then we go to DD Defense Soldier, which is a level 4 Dark Fiend with 0 attack, 1800 defense, and each effect is hard once per turn. So the first one is activate one of these listed effects. Target one DD card you control in your Pendulum Zone and special summon it, or banish one DD monster from your graveyard, and if your DDD monster attacks this turn, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. Both effects can be very helpful, especially the special summoning the card in the Pendulum Zone, but the part that can stop your opponent's card effects during battle can actually be quite nasty, especially for a 5 monster board. But anyway, second effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard and add one DD Pendulum monster that is face up in your extra deck or graveyard back to your hand. So once again, more extended play and more recycling. What's not to love? And now to a new main deck boss monster, Pendulum on a chair, DDD Zero Demise King Zero Machinix. She's a level 8 Dark Fiend Pendulum monster with 3000 attack, 0 defense, Pendulum scale 0. Definitely seen more of the manga design here. But anyway, the Pendulum effect is that hard once per turn during your main phase. If this card is activated this turn, aka when it's placed in the Pendulum Zone, you can place one Dark Contract continuous spell or trap from your deck face up on your field. That is pretty strong because it basically sets you up for more extended play, and those Dark Contracts are sometimes used as costs for other stuff, and they have further effects as well. And that effect itself is already pretty good, especially if you put this in the Pendulum Zone and then summon it, you just basically got a 3k beater, and the scale of 0 is also very nice. But the monster effect is both hard ones per turn, the first one being, if a face-up DDD and or Dark Contract is destroyed while this card is face-up in your extra deck, even during damage step, you can special summon this card, then destroy one card on the field. Nice that you could even destroy one of your opponent's cards, but this effect is actually pretty nice just because you get a 3k beater on the board just to replace one of your other cards, so I already like this card as it is. And also, it doesn't have to be by your opponent's card effects. It could even be by your own effects, which you're going to definitely have a lot of. But anyway, second effect, if this card in the monster zone is destroyed, you can place it in the Pendulum Zone. Overall, not too bad. It's basically a big boss monster that just sets you up and basically extends your play even further. Now, the only issue is that if it is face up from the extra deck, you do have to put it in a zone where a link marker points to, or the extra monster zone. But in that, it's a pretty nice 3k beater on its own that just extends your plays. And now it's time for integration. DDDD Great Dimension King Arc Crisis, which is a level 12 Dark Fiend Fusion Pendulum monster with 4000 attack and defense, scale of 13, requires 4 fiends, a fusion, synchro, exceed, and pendulum. Yup, Reiji is now integrating summon to go up against Zarc, and based on its design, definitely a fusion of his main aces of each respective summoning method. But anyway, to its pendulum effect, hard once per turn, you can target any number of dark contracts you control, destroy them, then special summon up to as many Doom King Pendulum monsters from your deck and or extra deck, and this could even be your Super Doom Kings or Ultimate Doom Kings. Now, this effect is not super duper likely to activate unless if this one is destroyed, but just having the ability to reoccur your evolved boss monster is just pretty nice. But anyway, if this card is face down in your extra deck, it must either be fusion summon or special summon by banishing the above materials from your field and or graveyard, and you can only summon once per turn this way, no matter which method you use. Really nice that you don't need a very specific card to actually use this card. You could actually just use its own effect to basically integration summon by banishing the materials. And in all practical sense, you're almost guaranteed to even have those materials, so this is actually not going to be too hard to summon. But anyway, to its main effects, if this card special summon, you can negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls. A mass monster negate is always very huge, especially on summon, in which the second effect is that it can attack all your opponent's monsters once each, and a 4k beater that can destroy all your opponent's stuff is also very huge as well. With the third effect, that if this card in the monster zone is destroyed, you can place it to the Pendulum Zone, and that's going to be the way how you're going to get the Pendulum effect, basically. So it's a mass negate on summon that can also destroy all your opponent's stuff by battle. And of course there are benefits colliding it with another 4K attacker. And the name is very fitting to go up against Zarc. So overall it's pretty awesome. Yeah, there's no protection for a big boss monster, but considering that this is not too hard to summon, I kinda get why. And there's a point of getting rid of this anyway, so you could actually use the Pendulum scale and effect as well. So overall an awesome new integration monster. And now to continue off to extending even further, DDD Founder King Clovis, which is a level 6 Dark Fiend Synchro with 21 attack, 1900 defense, generic summoning condition, and the first effect is hard once per turn, being if this card Synchro Summon, you can target one of your banished DD monsters, or if you control a Dark Contract, you can target one in your graveyard instead to special summon. Once again, more extended plays just because on summon, to do more summon, which can trigger more effects, and it's also level 6, which could even lead to more higher level plays or do even exceed plays because you got High King Caesar. But anyway, second effect, if this card becomes banished, you can activate this effect. If your DD monster attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing. You're either going to do this by card effect by using it as material, or even by Arc Crisis, which giving a bunch of boss monsters piercing damage can actually be nasty in itself. So already a good new addition. And then to DDD Wisdom King Solomon, which is a rank 4 Dark Fiend Exceed monster with 1000 attack, 2500 defense, requires 2 level 4 DD monsters, and each effect is hard once per turn. The first one is that you can detach one material from this card to add one DD card from your deck to your hand. Mostly monsters, but you do have some spells and traps for this. So one instant search is just already very good. With the second effect is that if this card becomes banished, you can target one of your DD effect monsters you control that has a monster effect and gains this effect until the end turn. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half of that monster's original attack. And yes, once again, it can become banished by your Arc Crisis. So once again, it's just further extend play and basically material for Arc Crisis. And then to a new Ragnarok, DDD Sky King Zeus Ragnarok, which is a Link 3 Dark Fiend Link monster with 2200 attack, bottom left, bottom, and bottom right, requires at least 2 DD monsters. And the first effect is that you can target one DD or Dark Contract you control to destroy it. Then during the main phase of the turn, you can conduct one additional Pendulum summon of DD monsters. And you can only get this effect once per turn. Being able to do a double Pendulum summon is definitely huge, especially since this has 3 link markers, which means that you can summon even more monsters to trigger more effects, which makes more materials for even more plays. But the second effect is that when your opponent activates a monster effect in hand, quick effect, you can banish one of your DD monsters and one Dark Contract in your graveyard to negate the activation. Quick effect negates are always nice, especially all the hand effects that we got nowadays, but the part where it banishes also can trigger some effects. So overall, cool new Link 3 DD monster. And now back to more manga stuff with a new continuous spell, Dark Contract of the Zero King. It's treated as a DD card as well, so meaning that it's searchable with those DD effects. So the first effect is a hard one per turn. You can target one DD card you control except itself, but you are restricted to summon DD monsters for the rest of the turn and destroy that card. And if you do, special summon one DD monster from your deck. And it could even be your big boss monster itself, because you have a lot of main deck big boss monsters in the deck as well. And also it's extended summoning, so this is already really good. But to the second effect, once again every Dark Contract has a punishment. In this case, during standby phase you take 1000 points of damage. This is typical for all your Dark Contracts, so I'm not going to comment about this, but the part where you're going to be summoning something, and it could even be your big boss monsters, is just huge. And finally, Dark Contract of the Different Dimension, which is a continuous trap, and each effect is hard once per turn. So the first one is that you can shuffle 2 Dark Contracts from your graveyard into the deck to target one card your opponent controls or in the graveyard and banish it, which could actually be huge, but there are some cases where you don't have that many Dark Contracts in the graveyard because you're not going to be constantly sending them, although with the new support maybe a little more, but still overall not too bad. And then the other effect is that if this card is destroyed, you get 500 life points, and if it's destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you get additional 500. Since you do have a little more effects of your own Dark Contract destruction, gain the 500 is very likely. The additional 500, not really. And it has the last effect where you're going to get punished during each standby phase for 1000 points. Not that useful, but it's there if you want to use it. It could be just a one-up. Just for the fact that you can banish your opponent's stuff and recycle some of your stuff if you need to. And so that's it for the new DDD support. What do you guys think of it? Overall, I'm really happy with it, even though DDD is already running out of space, but they are awesome. Especially for a new form of basically Armageddon combined with Temujin, Alexander, and Caesar into integration monster. Finally, Reiji has a monster to go up against Zarc, including the Arc Ray Dragon. But something I definitely wasn't expecting is that some of the cards are more manga based than anime based. Because if you guys don't remember, the Zero King related cards are more manga based, and definitely I was not expecting that. But I still find them awesome. And also more Doom King related stuff, because that's one of the more underrated boss monsters, which makes me pretty happy. But on that, that's it for this, and see you next time.